all that. Let's start there with development. Just what's been going on lately?
Yeah, so we're pretty excited to have. We've had several businesses that kind of relocated from downtown to another place in downtown, which is always nice. So we've done a little bit of shifting there. But we have a new business called A Taste of Both Worlds, which is a Filipino and Cambodian restaurant that'll be coming to downtown. We're very excited about that. Monticello is, at least I like to think, has long been known for their variety of restaurants. We like to eat in this town, so we have a number of them. And then we also have new owners of Steeple Coffee House, so that'll be reopening after they make some improvements. And they're going to have an art component, I understand, but still have the coffee and some baked goods. So, we love our baked goods as well. So we're pretty excited about that one going into that former church in downtown.
Do you, as the director of development, Callie, do you have a large hand in these businesses coming to the community, or is it one of those things where, a lot of that just kind of happens behind the scenes and you hear about it? I mean, it's the reviews I get on this sometimes from, folks in the city government world are kind of mixed a lot of times. So what's your experience with things like these?
Yeah, so it's interesting because a lot of the stuff that happens, we're always the last to know about, which is
Hmm.
fine. We don't have to be at the table, certainly, and we don't have to be facilitating everything. But we do, at least in Monticello, we have a great relationship with Shelley Crawford Stock, who's our Chamber Main Street Tourism Director, and we give very, very, very meticulous detail to and attention to our downtown. And I think that is what is helping to bolster the success of our businesses and making sure that we have buildings that are not falling down. Yes, we have issues like every other community, but we are very meticulous in making sure that our downtown is successful and healthy, because I think that's a good kind of snapshot of how your community is. So we, whether it's small business development programming through the boot camp program, or improving the buildings through the building improvement grant, or just doing lead generation and things like that for site selection for businesses that want to come to our community. From my role, I'm very involved in what's happening. But again, sometimes they happen on their own and we're the last to hear about it, which is totally okay too.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and another kind of question and maybe avenue off of this that I have been curious about, you talk about the revitalization of downtown and just continuing to work and move forward with, getting businesses in and improving the spaces that are offered there and things of that nature. Of course, the business boot camp is a big part of development in your community, and I know that's a program that's kind of expanded into other areas. I know Clinton offered this pre-pandemic. I don't know that they've gotten back to it after COVID here, or as we, hopefully kind of see COVID into the sunset. But at any rate, I know that Business Boot Camp has been a big part of getting businesses into Monticello and making sure they've got the tools to make it and continue to grow and expand. How about that program and what it's meant to just business development in your community?
Yeah, and if you've heard, my spiel on boot camp, which you have personally many times, but the thing about boot camp, the whole point was to get businesses in downtown. But what it actually forced us to do was to figure out how to strengthen our business community, and that's been the true benefit of the program. What we've noticed, the people that went through the program, to the degree that they built up and participated in that network of small businesses, whether it's in Monticello or regionally, because that's what it's turned into, those are the ones that really did a great job through the pandemic. They were not, yes, everyone struggled, but they were not to the point where it was, life or death. So that was something that the pandemic has shown us is this. Yes, this is truly a thing. We want to make sure that our businesses feel like they're not alone. They know who their community is, and they know who their resources are and who they can reach out to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that we will be continuing. We're going to start the next round in February, but it also helps get more attention because of that reputation. It helps get more attention on our downtown and on our businesses. So people, literally meeting with someone later today, people say, Monticello, you guys really care for your small businesses, and I think there's a misconception there. People think that it's just the city caring. The business has to care back. It has to be reciprocated. Otherwise, it's just a one-sided thing. And our businesses that don't want to play nice or play with others, I guess. And this is in any community, not just Monticello. Those are the ones that are going to be struggling. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to be willing to give what you get.
Sure. Again, Callie McFarland is the Director of Community Development for the City of Monticello and joins us on the phone here for today. Development-wise, Callie, I know a lot of times that conversation, you talk about economic development and bringing business to the community and things of that nature. A lot of people think that it's an overnight thing. You're out recruiting all the time, and you cast a wide net and you hope to land a couple of them, and folks just that's it's kind of a the idea in the public eye is that it's a quick process, and these things come together very very quickly, I guess. But it's not so much the case. I mean, there's very much a process to it, and it can take months, years, and the like. How about that aspect of development and recruiting business and those things?
Oh, yeah. There's a joke amongst economic developers that you're continuously and constantly trying to prove your worth because so much happens behind the scenes that isn't visible. So, it can take months, years to get a project into to get to fruition. There's just so many things that you have no control over that you're trying to get the momentum towards and to work simultaneously. So but it is a valuable effort if you want to be proactive in certain things. So yeah, it can be a little grueling at times, but I think it's something all communities need to invest in to whatever degree works for them.
Sure. Again, Callie McFarland is the Director of Community Development for the City of Monticello, our guest on the phone. And Callie, we talk a little bit about development and just kind of continuing the goals of a community that encompasses strategic planning. You and I talked about this a little bit. I kind of touched the surface on it in our last visit a few months ago. Strategic planning for the City of Monticello. Just kind of give us an update on where you're at in the process of this, why you're doing it, and just some of the, maybe outlining details as we dive in deeper after that.
Yeah. So the city in 2013, and it was adopted in early 2014, we went through a strategic plan and comprehensive plan process. And the comp plan was a 20-year plan. So it still is, in theory, in existence or effective. The strategic plan was only a 5-year plan, so that needed to be updated. My and I think our leadership's issues with the comprehensive plan were that it essentially is a no growth plan. We went through that process when there was a lot of tension with the leadership at the time and in the community, and so we had some instances where I think voices were not heard and it was very one-sided. I actually had multiple planners that were looking at our plan for me say, this is a no growth plan. I mean, you literally show no opportunity for expansion. And it's not to say we would expand because you're thinking 20 years out. You don't know what's going to happen. But we need to think, okay, if that were the opportunity, what would we as a community want to see happen? That aside, our demographics have completely changed since the 2010 census. And so I think that we need to address that accordingly because that totally changes our footprint and our path of how we want to grow as a community. So it's just it's an update, a healthy update to a comprehensive plan. Communities should be doing that anyway on a regular basis, not necessarily from a ground up, but looking at different components that don't reflect maybe what's really happening in terms of your demographic patterns. But it'll help our leadership figure out, who we want to be when we grow up.
When you talk about the shifts in, demographics out of the census and those sorts of things, have you had a chance to look at the latest census and the trends there? And what are you seeing if you have?
Yes, and I am such a data nerd. It's like Christmas for me when they release census information. So my poor council, they got so much more information than I think they really wanted. But, Pike County lost like a lot of rural counties, but Monticello actually grew, and we grew at a pretty healthy rate. Our vacancy rate's pretty healthy, which is interesting because, we have such a housing shortage. I was surprised it was at that level. Usually anything between 5 to 12% is what you're shooting for, and we were at 7%. And granted, that was, in April of 2020. So a lot's happened since then. But we're also younger. And I think that's something people need to really be thinking of is, as our baby boomers are aging out and growing and aging, we're also getting an influx of younger people. So what does that mean in terms of our growth patterns and transportation and amenities and housing and so forth?
Sure. When you talk about those things, Callie, is the strategic plan from your perspective, do you want it to focus on infrastructure things, and how do you bring in goals and things that you want to accomplish that aren't too lofty? Like, obviously you have to think about finances and making things feasible and that sort of thing. How, talk a little bit about setting goals, but making sure that you can attain those goals. How about that?
Yep. So I kind of like to think of a strategic plan as like what do I want to do? I mean, it's a 5-year plan. So what reasonably can we do, or at least strive to do in the next 5 years? Doesn't necessarily mean we have to get to those main goals, or benchmarks that we want to see in the comp plan, but what are some things we can do today or tomorrow, but not in 20 years. So those are things that are a little more reasonable and obtainable. They're a little more pinpointed in terms of the benchmarks that we want to see happen in the community. And again, like I said before, it's a 5-year plan, so it's a little it's easier to grasp.
Do you think about that 20-year goal though in any of this? I mean, do you think
Absolutely.
and how do you incorporate that into it? Because strategic planning, you mentioned, typically is a kind of a 5-year roadmap. So how do you think about the 20-year big picture?
Well, the interesting thing is when you are considering subdivision reviews and development processes, one of the things the state statute requires is it in flux with your the concept behind this comprehensive plan? Are you following what your community wanted you to do? So you're kind of using that as your guideline anyway.
Interesting stuff. Callie, where do we stand in the process of strategic planning in Monticello? I know last we left off, there was still some kind of council things to be taken into account. Where are we at with this right now?
Yep. So I'm reviewing proposals submitted, and pending budget approval in December, we should be ready to hit the ground running with the selected consultant January 1.
Interesting. Why is the consultant so important in this process?
That is a wonderful question. I get a lot of times, why do we need to hire someone to do a master plan for a park or a comprehensive plan for the community? Because I think it takes that subjective opinion. I'm not from Monticello. I've only lived here 18 years, right? So I'm not a local, quote unquote, as some would say. But it needs someone that isn't living and breathing Monticello to be able to facilitate that process as neutrally as possible.
I understand that. Just kind of playing devil's advocate, it would also you'd also probably want that local perspective of, okay, they may not know the dynamics of the community, but could you find someone local that could lead this in an objective way? Or is that just not something that, I don't want to say not something people consider, but is that just, you like that non-objective or that objective, kind of outside set of eyes, so to speak? How about that?
Yep. Well, let me play devil's advocate to your devil's advocate.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's the community's plan. So there will be, throughout this process, there will be many, many, many opportunities. It'll be interesting to see how we do it with public forums, but we're going to make sure that there are many opportunities for the community to have input, and the council to have input, and the planning and zoning board to have input, because at the end of the day, it's their plan, it's their decision. So I think that if with a good facilitator, they'll make sure that we get that fair amount of, or good amount, appropriate amount of public input on that one. We just, as a professional, I have my hopes and dreams and goals for Monticello, but I work for the people. It's the people's plan.
Sure.
So it kind of removes me a level. I'm still there to help facilitate that process and make sure, okay, you need to talk to these stakeholders and so forth. But it shouldn't be the city administrator. It shouldn't be the community development director or anyone else actually running with that program.
I have to admit, Callie, it's the first time I've had a devil advocate scenario thrown back to my devil advocate scenario. So we have a first here on the morning show. But
it could help.
No, it's great conversation. And I'm just curious to wrap us up here for this morning. How much does maybe things we learned in COVID impact what we do in this next strategic plan? Or have you even thought about that?
I have, but COVID has taught us that we can't get together the way we thought, but it's also taught us we can still get together in other ways. And so I think that people are used to those particular opportunities. So it's not going to be an out there idea for us to say, we're going to, give you a phone call or a Zoom meeting or something to get your input.
But I also think that lends itself to a broader scope of people you can reach.
Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. Callie, where do folks go? We're going to take a time out and come back, perhaps talk some calendar of events and things going on there. How do folks learn about all things Monticello?
Oh, they can go to citymonticello.net.
That is Callie McFarland, Director of Community Development for the City of Monticello, our guest on the phone. We've got more with her on the way on the WHOW Morning Show.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Tuesday report day. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network. Corn opening a bit higher, beans steady, and wheat trading higher to start this Tuesday. December corn 554.5 up 3. March corn up 3, 564. December 22 corn 539.5 up penny. November beans starting today 11.78 1/4 up 1/4. January beans up a penny 11.89.5. November 22 beans 12.01.5 down 1/4. December wheat starting today 7.72 1/4 up 4 1/4. March wheat up 3.5 7.84 3/4. And July wheat opening 7.78 1/4 up 2 pennies. December bean meal 3.33.40 that's up 1.60. And December bean oil opening 58.20 up 15 cents. A look at the opening numbers on this Tuesday report day. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
At Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Baum Motor Company in Farmer City, our job is to help you and solve your transportation needs. This is Scott Baum. Both in Clinton or Farmer City, we'll listen and find options for a different vehicle, or we'll give you repair options to keep that car, truck, or SUV safe and trouble-free so you can continue with your busy schedule. If it has to do with transportation, we're here to help. Visit our full-service team today in Clinton or Farmer City. Baum Chevrolet Buick, right from the start.
Clinton Save-Out owner Dave Jackson tells us live cashiers are important. Here's Dave with more.
The cashier actually doing the cashiering is pretty darn important, and the customers respond to that. We've gotten a tremendous response to our campaign reminding people that we have live cashiers.
You get live cashiers every time you save up to 40% off on your grocery bill at your Clinton Save-A-Lot. And as Dave always says,
and we hope to see you soon.
This is the morning show on 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence, and my guest on the phone is Callie McFarland, Director of Community Development for the City of Monticello. And Callie, we left off that last segment previewing or saying we were going to preview the events coming up in the month of December and Christmas time in Monticello. So what do you have? I know that Christmas is big in the City of Monticello. What's going on?
Yeah, Christmas is kind of our jam. So our downtown is already garlands and lights and bows and, Christmas spirit. So it'll be interesting. We always have our Veterans Day parade or ceremony and parade in downtown with Christmas background. So it's kind of weird, but we've grown to love it. That's how we roll. So Polar Express starts this weekend and it'll run the next, it's 4 weekends. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you'll see, if you come to Monticello, you'll see lots of parents and kids wandering around in pajamas. That's the reason why. But Reds of Christmas is the day after Thanksgiving. If they're not close to sold out, they are already. But if tickets are still available, people can go to MonticelloMainStreet.org and get their tickets for that. That's our annual wine shop walk that always sells out, and it's so much fun. And it kicks off to Small Business Saturday. Christmas parade's coming up on the 4th. Lunch with Santa on the Train is also in December on that weekend. We love our trains here in Monticello.
You got a great railway museum too, so
we do. They are phenomenal. Then they're run by volunteers, which a lot of people don't realize.
I did not realize
the Polar
that.
Express is a huge production. They bring in professional dancers from a dance studio out of Decatur in Monticello, and it's just you're living the book, and it's so fun. But I encourage a lot of people to look into that if they haven't. And then stroll around downtown. Our shops and restaurants are ready for you, and it's just going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. So yeah, getting right into the Christmas spirit. Very good. And I know, like you said, Callie, Christmas is the jam in Monticello, and you guys do it right over there for sure. So anything else on the calendar, Callie, that you want to put out there for us today?
Nope. There's always opportunities at Allerton Park. I believe the Monticello Theater Association has a production coming up here pretty quick. So there's quite a bit going on.
Awesome. So again, where do folks find that calendar of events and all the things happening in Monticello?
they go to citymonticello.net.
Awesome. Very good. Well, Callie, as we chat here for this morning, I've got about a minute left with you. Anything on the city council level that the folks on the council are working on these days of interest?
No, they actually started last night discussing the possibility, needs to happen, of redistricting. Our wards have kind of gotten a little out of whack over the last couple of censuses. So
Right.
that was a lengthy and confusing, in my opinion, discussion that they had, because it's never easy, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, they're just wrapping into budget, and that looks like it's about done.
Awesome. Well, Callie, you talk about that ward discussion? Is it based off of like populations in certain, like how is the city council structured in its form of local government?
Yep. So we have 4 wards, 2 aldermen from each ward, and in theory, it should be within a 5% margin of difference between the other wards in population. We've got one that's kind of doubled in size over the last couple of censuses, so it makes a little uneven balance there. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed.
Gotcha. I was just curious how that worked in Monticello. So very good. Callie, it's always good to talk to you. We're not going to catch up before Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and we'll catch up post-Thanksgiving, perhaps during the holidays.
Sounds good, and best to you as well.
It's always good to talk to you, Callie. Thanks again. Callie McFarland, Director of Community Development, our guest on the phone. Network News on the way.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W222B.